Welcome to Traveler's Tales. I am your host, Greg Alonzo. Today in part 2 of the Odyssey, we will be taking a look at your questions and comments. As a reminder, we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Let's begin with a comment from Ramon. Ramon says, I never thought of the Odyssey as a morality tale. I just figured that it was a high-adventure fantasy full of mystical beings and creatures. Well, frankly, Ramon, most people would be in your camp because the Odyssey is one great adventure story. There is so much that we can learn from these classics, however. People are people, and throughout time, we will suffer from many of the same issues. People will have the same goals, desires, and needs, and I think that's why these classics are timeless. The next question. Carl wants to know just how serious did people of ancient times believe in giants, cyclops, witches, and monsters? That's a great question. I think they believed many of these creatures to have existed. Stop and think of it for a moment. Anything that they couldn't understand was a force of nature. Who controlled nature? The gods. Who opposed? The gods, demons, witches, and the lot. Just a thought. Imagine the farmer tilling the soil when he unearths the skull of a mastodon. Since their eye sockets are on the side of their face, he figures then, what could this possibly be? The sockets on the side must be horns? He doesn't realize they're ear sockets. The hole where the trunk was situated, he clearly sees it as an eye socket. Now we have the Cyclops. I remember in my anthropology class, the professor had us all take out a penny. We were to take a look at the penny and guess what it could possibly mean. It could be anything we imagined, anything but the obvious. It couldn't be a penny. Carl, you wouldn't believe the guesses we heard. Let's press on. Sandy asked, didn't the oceanographer Jacques Cousteau name his boat Calypso? Sandy, he sure did. He clearly was a fan of Homer. Let's see. Here's something very interesting. Daria asks, why are women always portrayed as mysterious manipulators or just evil? Daria, that is the age-old question. Personally, I think men just didn't understand women. Then again, do we now? I never try to understand my wife. I just accept her for who she is. Historically, men have also seen women as the weaker of the sexes. Women are governed by emotions, whereas men use logic as their guide. Sadly, most literature, even religious writings, portray women in the same light. Moving right along, Franz wants to know, do I believe in sea serpents or any types of monsters from the deep? Well, Franz, sorry, but no. I think that the early sailors saw creatures that they had no knowledge of their existence. For example, giant squids, giant spiders, sea crabs, oarfish, stingrays, and even huge jellyfish, just to name a few. Take, for example, the narwhal. In the past, people mistook its tusk for the horn of the unicorn. Our next question comes from Eliza. She states here, I don't understand about the sirens and Odysseus' fascination with them. Well, Eliza, for Homer, the sirens symbolize temptation, desire, and risk. These creatures would entice sailors to their doom. It was said that their singing was so irresistible that the sailors would follow it and eventually to their death. To protect his crew, Odysseus had his men fill their ears with beeswax until they could not hear a sound. However, Odysseus, always the risk taker, had the men lash him to the mast of the ship so he could hear the song of the sirens. I have always wondered if whale song is what the myth is centered around, thereby the song of the sirens. Well, I'm looking here and we have quite a few interesting questions and comments, so let's get to Anya's comment. Anya says, it seems like Penelope is the only truly good person in the Odyssey. Anya, I agree with you. Penelope symbolizes the proper Greek woman. She is loyal to her husband and her family. She obviously is understanding and patient, perhaps to a fault. I would also add that she is clever in that she was able to keep off her many suitors and keep them at bay. Well, here's an interesting question on religion. Leonard asked, how important was religion to the Greeks? The gods were the core of the Greek beliefs. In antiquity, religion affected every facet of daily life. Knowing this, we have insights into the culture of the people of the Bronze Age. Next, Daryl asked, why did Odysseus kill all of the suitors? Well, Daryl, Odysseus wanted revenge because the suitors had wasted a lot of his wealth. Most importantly, by taking advantage of his absence, the suitors insulted Odysseus and damaged his reputation. Our last question comes from Clara. She wants to know, why did Odysseus wear the emblem of dolphins on his shield? Well, Clara, that's an excellent question. Just before Odysseus left for Troy, his infant son fell into the sea and fortunately was rescued by dolphins. In tribute for saving Telemachus, Odysseus emblazoned the image of the dolphins on his shield. In conclusion, I would like to sum up why I believe the Odyssey to be a morality tale. Starting with Penelope, the queen is representative of loyalty. For 20 years, she stayed loyal to Odysseus. On an interesting note, in Greek, the name Penelope means weaver. In the story, she holds off her suitors by weaving a death shroud for Odysseus' father, Laertes. Let's take a look at a few more characters. How about Cersei the witch? Cersei succeeds in distracting Odysseus from his quest. I believe that for Homer, Cersei represents the danger of excess comfort and pleasure. Now we come to the goddess Calypso. As previously discussed, the goddess conceals the real world from Odysseus. Interestingly, in Greek, her name actually means concealment. But what about the sirens? These creatures definitely represent temptation, desire, and risk. And now we come to Prince Telemachus. Telemachus represents hope. Telemachus always believed his father would return home to Ithaca. He is also integral in helping his father defeat the suitors and restoring Odysseus to his throne. This is a look at just a few of the characters of the Odyssey. For Homer, spiritual growth is the underlying theme of his classic work. We see primarily through Odysseus that regardless of rough times, temptation, and being lost, it is through spiritual growth that we find our way home. Thank you for following us on Traveler's Tales. As a reminder, we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. In our next video, we will explore Virgil's Aeneid. Cartistos.